Everyone Saranai, may you have the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem. I also wish you a very good evening. We are going to begin today's Sutta studies by respecting the homage to the Supreme Buddha by reciting Namo Tassa. So may this beautiful chanting on the noble virtues of the Buddha in short be a great blessings to you to study Dhamma in this 1 and 15 minutes period, and may your family and friends be well, happy, and peaceful, and all the living beings in the world be well, happy, and peaceful. With that compassionate thought in mind, let's begin the Sutta studies by paying homage to the Supreme Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Friends, I joined this Sutta discussion today from Mississauga Buddhist Vihara in Toronto. Since yesterday, I have been having some programs, and tomorrow I have a day-long meditation program from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. So I'm here with the other monks. So I must thank all the venerable monks who provided me this facility to conduct the Sutta studies today. So the topic we keep for today's discussion is something very interesting for all of us. One of the questions last 2 weeks repeatedly asked was about the 5 aggregates of clinging and their gradual progression from rising to the cessation and how it happens. Both suttas give some light for this wonderful teaching, so that I thought of discussing some important elements of the 2 suttas related to 5 aggregates of clinging. In addition, we are going to see the Paticca Samuppada theory in a different angle based on these 2 suttas, Chulahattipadopama Sutta and also Mahattipadopama Sutta. Understanding our mind or establishing Dhamma in our mind based on this practice is really significant for us. I know the fact that many of you have read through most of the cardinal teachings of the Buddha, including 37 factors for enlightenment and other related practices. I'm pretty sure that you can understand the topic in many ways. If you look at the 2 suttas from the beginning to the end, you can see how important these 2 suttas. In one sutta, Venerable Sariputta paid attention how the suffering arises with regard to the 5 aggregates of clinging, even though he said that the 4 noble truths are the central teaching for all the wholesomeness. He didn't explain the whole 4 noble truths in details, except the first noble truth, the truth of suffering. And even in that, we can see how Venerable Sariputta explained the 5 aggregates of clinging without paying attention to the other important aspect of suffering. When you go to Chulahati Padopama Sutta. It's been discourse for various type of individuals. With when it compares to the Mahavedala Sutta, Mahati Padopama Sutta is deep and analytical one, only to someone who knows the Dhamma, in my understanding. But when you come to Chulahati Padopama Sutta, with the same type of simile it goes, but the teaching the Buddha explained there is different, and with the same teaching in a different way. It's a beautiful story type sutta, the conversation between Vilotika and Janusoni, and then the conversation between the Janusoni and the Buddha provide us a very clear, background to understand what the Dhamma we should practice. So, establishing our Dhamma in our mind, we need to understand both context. And when we go to Mahati Padopama Sutta, it's very clear that the Upadana towards Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana, when this happened and where this happened is being discussed. If we really remember the fact we discussed, Kajjaniya Sutta was also referred to where Pancha Upadana Kanda is been nicely explained. So here I just want to read that part of the Mahati Padopama Sutta for you to slowly consider the importance of Paticcasamuppada in 5 aggregates of clinging. Let me get that part of the sutta. And also a very important thing is Sangvega. I think we discussed this part very much on that day. Sangvega, when you try your best to keep your mind on the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha as a means to stay in the Dhamma, as a means to establish Dhamma in you, you may not be having that feeling to continue your practice. Sometimes we try our best to think about the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha as a means to take our mind from unwholesomeness, but it doesn't work sometimes. Then the sense of Sangvega can arise us, can take us into the right Dhamma. So in short, what this mean to us is that we may not be able to practice the Dhamma due to various reasons, though we understand the Dhamma is required. So there you should have Sangvega. What I was doing there, I'm subject to die one day. I'm subject to all kinds of problems. So why I wasted my time there without the Dharma? Such feeling might come to us over and over, depending on the way we live. And that type of Sangvega is really required for someone to start the Dhamma again, start to establish the Dhamma in our mind again. So with regard to 4 elements, Venerable Sariputta talk about this Sangvega, and I just want to draw your attention to the last section. Well, let me get it. Here it is. This last part of the Sutta of Mahati Padopama Sutta, Venerable Sariputta talks about the Paticcasamuppada. Also, just as when also, if internally the I is intact, but no external form come into its range, and there is no appropriate conscious engagement, there is no appearance of that class of consciousness. So first of all, Venerable Sariputta explained that if I doesn't meet the particular object, and there is no I consciousness, and how could that I consciousness happen? It's so simple. If one of the requirements are not present in making eye consciousness, there won't be eye consciousness. Also means same type of people are called by that name in the Sangha order. If internally the eye is intact and externally form come into its range, but there is no appropriate conscious engagement, then there is no appearance of that class of consciousness. So in some occasion, I may be missing of the three, so that the eye consciousness doesn't come. In other occasion, maybe the object of eye may not be there, so that eye consciousness is not arise. But in some occasion, eye is intact and external form come into its range, and appropriate consciousness might also be there, so that the appearance of eye consciousness should be there. So thus, it is said in the discourse, the form in what has thus come into being is grouped into the form aggregate of clinging. So when the eye consciousness arises there, we know the fact that contact, passa, is taking place. In the passa, for Vedana and Sanya to rise, the form aggregate has been arisen right there. Feeling aggregates has been arisen, and of course, Sanya, Sankara, Vinya. There you see the five aggregates of five aggregates arise there. So perception, feeling, formation, and consciousness, they are going to be there. Not only the aggregates come into existence, the problem or the cause of suffering also arises there, the clinging to aggregates, depending on the person who actually sees, hears, know, sense and smell and touch and think. Depending on the personal abilities, there are attachment part to the aggregate, but we know the fact that arahants do not, but rest of the individuals do it. Whenever Sariputta continues, he means everyone. He understands thus. This indeed is how there comes into being the grouping, gathering, accumulation of things into these five aggregates of clinging. So let me read that part again. The form in what has thus come into being is grouped into the form aggregates of clinging. The feeling in what has thus come into being is grouped into the feeling aggregates of clinging. So whenever Sariputta, like in Upadana Parivartana Sutta in Samyutta Nikaya, explained clearly how five aggregates of clinging arises. When this happen, which means when five aggregates join or attach with clinging, this has been said by the Blessed One, he who sees dependent arising sees Dharma. He who sees Dharma sees dependent arising. So this statement of the Buddha, yo Dhammang Passati, yo Paticcasamuppadang Passati, so Dhammam Passati, so Dhammam Passati, so Paticcasamuppadang Passati, has been used with different types of Dhamma, not only with this particular place, but we can apply it to any state of awareness. Because when you see the rising of something, rising of, let's say, virya, rising of Shraddha, they are all about Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vinyana. When you, let's say, engage with some charity work, conventionally you say giving dana, giving food, giving medicine, maybe you cleans the temple or the public place. They are all charitable work. There, what we have is rising these five aggregates, and depending on the person and their mental skills, maybe five aggregates of clinging. So, when you see, when that particular see what happened in their mind and sees the dharma. So, in this regard, dharma and also dependent origination has no separation. What dharma is, that is paticsampada. Paticsampada means the dharma. So when we understand, or when we see this gradual progression of Rupa Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana, it means we see the Dharma. Because there is that mindfulness develop, because without clear mindfulness, without clear wisdom, without the other important Dharma elements there is no possibility for the person to see this subtle rising of aggregates, consciousness, and past sensory contact, and then feeling, perception. They are very subtle status of mind, and it is very difficult for someone to know these things without the development of sati, samadhi, and samma samadhi, and so forth. So that when we say that somebody sees these things, it means he has or she has developed the necessary conditions of the Noble Eightfold Path. That's why this statement is really true. When the person who sees the Paticsamuppada, he sees the Dharma. So that statement is in Maha Attipadupama Sutta. So again, when he sees dependent arising, sees Dharma, when he sees dharmas, he sees dependent arising with regard to five aggregates of clinging. They're here. The desire, indulgent, inclination, and clinging based on these five aggregates of clinging is the arising of suffering. And that has been very clear in first discourse of the Buddha, Dhammacakkappavattana, and also Sankittena Panchupadana Dukkha. In short, we can say that the suffering is nothing but the five aggregates of clinging. So the five aggregate might be innocent itself, but when attachment, clinging, grasping is there with the aggregates, they are actually giving us suffering, the dukkha. The removal of lustful desire, the abandonment of lustful desire for these five aggregates is the end of suffering. So now Venerable Sariputta at the end of that section talks about the first noble truth, and also the third noble truth, and also the other noble truth in a indirect way. So when you understand the five aggregates of clinging as they are, it means you complete the first noble truth as well as the part of second noble truth, because you are going to see how attachment come into existence. So ending of the attachment is the ending of suffering. And with regard to eye, with regard to ear, with regard to nose, with regard to other senses, Venerable Sariputta talks about the Paticcasamuppada and the gradual arising of suffering. So therefore, this Sutta, Mahatipadopama Sutta, is talking about the establishing of Dharma in our mind very clearly. That's why I selected that topic for today's discussion, because establishing Dharma means we understand where the suffering arises and how suffering is stopped. And when you know these two, you are to actually hold some Dhamma in your mind, because practically we are trying to use them. Friends, suffering arises not only a particular time, but every time we use the senses. Every time we worked in day-to-day life, the suffering, the causes of suffering arise. When only we start thinking about it. Oh, that's how suffering arises. So this is, sometimes I have I have come to know that some need some training in understanding the theory of five aggregates and its teachings, subordinate teachings very much, so that they can actually click those teaching moments of Dhamma in practical sense. That's why I wanted to discuss this part of the Sutta very much. So because Paticcasamuppada is being understood by some people only with the formula and that particular statement. Of course, that is the place where the Buddha talks about the theory of it. But when it comes to practical level, Paticcasamuppada is being everywhere. Even now, when I talk, I think, I see things, and I think about them in mind quickly, and I speak about it. So this happened dependent. And because of your participation, I conduct this, I host this, and depending on your participation, I have this. So without Paticcasamuppada, there is nothing happen. Because of the power, the computer is working. Because of the light, you can see me. Because of not having anything else at this moment, you willingly participate in this program. Depending on your intention, you are here. Depending on the chair, you are sitting in front of the computer. So depending on the right volume, you are to hear me well. So Paticcasamuppada is being internally and externally explained very clearly in each and every physical and mental action. So unless we understand this vast spread of Paticcasamuppada in practical life, it is very difficult for someone to catch the arising of unwholesomeness, particularly upadana, and do away with them. So I think the learning Dhamma means being able to apply these theories of Dharma into day-to-day life, action. So now I just want to draw your attention to the Chulahattipadopama Sutta, one of the suttas I like very much, because as we discussed uh, a week ago, this sutta does not talk about the gradual path for a person to reach to nirvana from the very beginning. It has also given various Dhamma implication. As we discuss, we need Shraddha. When we come to analytical part of the Dharma, people lose Shraddha, but try to hang on to views, try to hang on to points of view. But Shraddha should always be there in our mind in order for us to break down the difficult, profound points of the Dhamma and understand them. Let me get the sutta. Look at the Janusoni and Pilotika. The very same fact I talk about, Shraddha. Their Shraddha, Pilotika's Shraddha and Janusoni's Shraddha were very strong. And they were able to understand the Buddha from their own point of view, which is okay. And therefore they were able to take the attention of the Buddha for some beautiful Dhamma. And I think that kind of Shraddha should be always there. But when you come to Shraddha supported by wisdom, it's always beautiful. But Shraddha without wisdom, we don't appreciate that very much, because you might be doing various unwanted things with that. But anyway, Shraddha developed through right thinking can help you at any stages of your practice up to the enlightenment. So if you pay attention to the map of Chulahattipadopama Sutta, I would like to talk about the Buddha's footprint, Tathagata Pada. That is the real word, Tathagata Pada. So, according to um, Pilotika, there are only four, but the Buddha's explanation shows us that there are eight Tathagata Pada. First of all, four jhanas. That's when you have the Dharma in your mind, it means would be able to let go of the presence of craving, presence of unwholesomeness into a certain extent. In other words, when we say establishing Dharma in our mind, we would be able to let go of five hindrances, either by effort of meditation, karmasthana meditation, or other ways around. Uh, According to various suttas, we can let go of five hindrances even by listening to the Dharma. We can take the five hindrances into the bay by even doing some good activities. But it depends on personal skills. Sometimes people can let go of these, a representative of unwholesomeness called five hindrances by giving a Dharma talk. When you give a Dharma talk, when you talk about Dharma as you understand, you feel that your mind is away from any sense of sensual pleasures, ill will, sleepiness, drowsiness, worry, anxiety, doubts, and so on. And it could happen at any given moment. So, when we talk about the establishing Dharma in us, we would be able to let go of five hindrances. Friends, suppose we have read all the important suttas in the Majjhima Nikaya, Dika Nikaya, and other Nikayas. We have read the Vinaya Pitaka, Abhidhamma Pitaka. However, if we are unable to, control our emotions, feel good with anything, there you lack of this particular aspect. So when we talk about the Tathagata Pada, first Tathagata Pada, as I said, is the four jhanas. We would be able to try out to let go of hindrances and gain piti sukha. I like this two things, piti sukha, which means you have a happiness in your mind and you feel that through your physical body as well. So when we come to sukha, it is a combination of both physical and mental relaxation. Piti sukha. And it consists, when we come to the Satta Bojjhanga, Piti is one of the Bojjhanga and Passaddhi is another. So they are very important aspect of our training. It means that when we come to normal aspect, we go somewhere, and unless you enjoy the moment and the environment wherever you go, there is no point for you to go there. Suppose you go to a restaurant and you enjoy the environment of the restaurant, including the taste of the food. That is good because you went there just for that kind of experience. How about if you don't feel anything? There is no point to go. Likewise, when we practice the Dharma, no matter which level, we would be able to feel good with it. Feeling good means we have given a type of a start, the piti and passaddhi. So being able to be rapturous and tranquilize your mind means you are taking very good measures to let go of five hindrances. In other words, in Satta Bojjhanga, where the Buddha talks about the Satta Bojjhanga, he talks about the taking five hindrances out from your mind, and then and there you started the development of the Satta Bojjhanga. So that is really, really important. So many of us meditate on daily basis. Many of us periodically engage with various Dhamma activities that are very deep. Unless we feel jhanic experiences, I think we need to work hard for that. We should be able to be happy with whatever we do. In other words, being able to be happy according to the Dhamma means you are knocking the door of first, second, third, fourth Tathagata Pada. This is why the Buddha encouraged bhikkhus and bhikkhunis most oftenly to go to those particular three places and meditate. The Buddha knows that these monks never give up their training when they experience the jhana. And jhana, the very word jhana means jayati, it comes from verb jayati. It means you burn down the unskillful thoughts in your mind. Atapi is synonym to jayati, in other words. So what these terms means, you slowly, gradually, fade away these unwholesome thoughts in your mind. But depending on the sources for them, they might come again. However, over and over, you burn them down, and as a result, your mind get used to it, and the sustenance of jhana, first and second and third and fourth Tathagata Pada, might be very clear to you. So we also, at some point, we discussed that when you are in the first jhana, the shraddha you have about the Buddha is so strong, because you know from the other hand that this pleasure, this sukha, this happiness is given by the Buddha's instruction. It is the Buddha who showed me the path for this pleasure, so that your veneration, your dedication, your respect, gratitude towards the Buddha increase in a numerous ways. So those who haven't still experienced the jhana might try for it. When I say this, I have experienced many times that people become upset. Oh, we haven't experienced anything like that, so that we are still weak. How long we need to practice this? How many suttas do we need to hear? From which Bhante, from which scholar we should listen, and which way we should meditate? I think you don't need to go around and do all kind of these things. Don't discourage yourself. Just be yourself. Try to understand your mind and body, and that's the main source of your jhana. Being able to look at your mind and body for a period of time without any distraction, that is the thing you need to learn. You don't need to go into all the suttas to do that. Just listen to your mind, just look at your body. If your mind doesn't go anywhere else, that's a good sign of jhana. So continue that practice. Add compassion there. Use wisdom there into a certain extent, and that makes you very strong in getting jhana. So somehow we can take the horse to the water, but we cannot drink water for the horse. We have, and the Buddha have, and all of you have told this story of dharma many times, and somehow you would be able to be lucky and fortunate to taste it. So as the Buddha said in the Chulahati Padopama Sutta, where he talks about the Tathagata Pada, that is the very place you need to see. The Buddha. If I go back to the Mahati Padopama Sutta, Yo Paticsampadang Pasati, so Dhammam Pasati. The same style of saying is found in other discourses. Yo Dhammam Pasati, so Mam Pasati. So if you experience first jhana, there you see the Buddha. Yo Dhammam Pasati means you experience Savitakka, Savichara, Piti, Sukha, Ekakkhata. Combination of these five qualities means you are in the first jhana, and that's the Dhamma you see. And when you see this Dhamma from your own experience, you see the Buddha. So again, there you see Patisampada. You put all the conditions for five aggregates to go away from your mind, and that's the condition you prepare in your mind. As a result, or depending on that, you have Piti, Sukha, Ekagata, Savitakka, Savichara. So you see Patisampada working there very well, right? And when somebody is in jhana, they can feel it. They can, or as the tradition says, uttahitva, from jhana, you without being in the top place of your jhana, through your practice you can come out of it, but the sense of samadhi doesn't go from your mind at all. For example, people attain to first jhana, second jhana, fourth jhana, and they gradually come down, or gradually they go up to the fourth. From there, you can go further levels of Chetomukti. So, in each moment, depending on this, depending on that, you go. Depending on that, you come back, and what you see there is the Paticsampada. And when you are in the top place of particular jhanas, many individuals cannot, uh, you know, go to details of jhana. But Venerable Sariputta, according to Anupada Sutta, was able to master each aspect of each jhana, and then went to the next jhana and so forth. There are such individuals there in the sasana, but many of them did not do that because it's so subtle. Anyway, what I am trying to say is that we are able to keep that jhana quality in mind and see the conditions of jhana, and what condition made the jhana to go away, what conditions are helpful for me to get the jhana again, and so forth. They are all about Paticca. So we are still keeping that topic in mind, establishing Dhamma. It's establishing Dhamma in our mind. So these are the Dhamma we need to plant in our mind in order for us to get some advanced level of enlightened states. So I'm trying to go back to the part where Buddha talks about the cultivation of samadhi in the Chula Hattipadopama Sutta. So when you are morally wholesome in numerous ways, he is content with robes to protect his body. He is content with the alms food and other things. And his mind is always inclined to sense restraint. It means that when you are happy with whatever practice you do now, you are to take another practice into application and complete it well. Likewise, you go from the practices that make you happy with regard to sense experience, sense restraint, to mindfulness and clear comprehension, then preparing for meditation. I think the prerequisite for karmasthana meditation should be there always in us. I just want to tell you that Dasa Pali Bodha. It is from the Attakatha. In Dasa Pali Bodha, Venerable Buddha Ghosa shows the 10 types of situation or states that disturb your meditation. And one of them, as I remember, is the attachment to duties, temples, houses, and then constant engage with devotees for monks. That is a Pali Bodha. And reading more books always is also another Pali Bodha. Even if you read and write Dhamma books over and over to make people educated on them, you miss your point in the Dharma. You have to balance everything. So in Dasa Pali Bodha, when Buddha goes to talk about the disadvantages of meditation, and so that prerequisite for meditation is really important for us. You see from Chulahatipadopama Sutta how the Buddha or the great disciple prepare a novice. First and foremost, we are able to provide the prerequisite for karmasthana meditation. Having done so, a meditation subject is given. It means a subject to reflect is given. When we ask you, when you ask us, Bante or friend, think about the impermanence over and over with anything you come across. It is a karmasthana. Karmasthana, particularly according to tradition, is a nimitta given to you to sit and concentrate on that to calm down your mind. But when we take the nimitta or karmasthana in broader sense, it is something to rely on to be away from unskillfulness, unwholesome thoughts. For example, you take suppose you wake up tomorrow morning with the idea that everything is impermanent, including this moment and the way feeling I have now, whatever I see, they are all about aggregate, so everything is impermanent. So you try your best to keep that perception of impermanence when doing when you do things. That's called karmasthana. Karmasthana means the particular nimitta or thought process you keep always to shine the dhamma in your mind. So in establishing dharma in your mind, these are very important. So before a novice is given a karmasthana, again you have to have those seal section completed into a greater extent, and all the other activities should be done so that you are going well. And that is the moment, according to Tulahati Padopama Sutta, you take the effort to alleviate the five hindrances. Overcoming five hindrances is a very important place in the Dharma. It is the moment you perhaps cross over the mundane, world to supramundane world, because over and over you do this, there you have the taste of the real nirvana, and the energy factor you develop might be very strong with the right understanding, so that taking the akusala out from you could happen. So any sutta or anywhere in the Dhamma you talk about five hindrances, it is the very place you are crossing the border from mundane to supramundane. I know the fact that all the people who attain to jhana do not experience nibbana, but it is the close door for it. I can see that jhana has been talked as Tathagata Pada, and then anytime I take the discussion about the Pubbenivasanussate, Chatupapata, and Asavakya, there are actually certain knowledges of Arhants, knowledges of the Buddha, that sometimes we do not understand very much, but the understanding part of those jnana are such as the dependent arising as well as the five aggregates. When the Buddha reflect the previous lives one after the other, he says they are nothing but the five aggregates. When you think about your last year, previous year, and 5 years ago, all the incident you remember are nothing but the five aggregates in your mind right now with regard to the past experience. So that we can see that Paticcasamuppada, and based on Paticcasamuppada, we talk about the five aggregates of clinging in each lifetime when you have this Pubbenivasanussati. This is why the Bodhisattva or any Arahant to be realized that I have been coming from long way with greed, hatred, and ignorance, particularly avidya and tanha. So when you come to the Chatupapata, particularly, you see not only myself, everybody else has the same nature, so that you are in a great positions to take the subtle point of craving called asava out from your mind and close the door. That is the confirmation of enlightenment, and they are also Tathagata Pada. having completed the asava, destruction of asava, there you feel that you attained full enlightenment. And that is the last Tathagata Pada. So then only you decide that the Buddha is great. Do you see the line of Chulahati Padopama Sutta? It is a sutta you should develop about the Buddha, about the Sangha, about the Dhamma in numerous ways. And having developed Shraddha, you either be a strong, very solid upasaka or upasika or a bhikkhu or bhikkhuni who actually take good measures in the noble training. So I don't think that this discussion provide you all the ingredients of the path to enlightenment. The reason why I say is need to develop Shraddha so that you read slowly, step by step, and think about it, and so on. This kind of fast-forwarding discussion is giving you some sense of searching through the discourses and finding information. But in order for you to really feel it, I encourage you to read the discourses very much. Having said that, I know how difficult it is because every week I take a discourse and they are all long, 10 pages long. How could one read these systematic way of Dhamma, and how could we remember the name of the sutta? Of course, yes. But we try our best. We tried, this particular suttas may not be helpful for somebody to understand Dhamma, but other discourses may be helpful because the Dhamma, expression of Dhamma in different discourses are different for different characters. Maybe one or two discourses might be very key for you to get the Dharma. I can see Dr. Pial has raised hand. Please take your time.
Bande, first of all, thank you so much for the sutta. Can you hear me?
Give me a second. Yes.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So first, I just want to clarify. You talk about Tathagata Pada. Is it Tathagata Pada or Tathagata Pada? Pada is footprint. So
yeah,
both.
When we that's a very good question. In a colloquial language, we used to say Tathagata Pada means the same thing, but according to the Sutta, it could be Pada. Let me get the Pali version because we always read. Give me a second. I'm going to get the Opama Vagga in Majjhima Nikaya, where both suttas are discussed. It's sutta number 27 and 28.
It's just a pronunciation thing. I don't think it's a big deal.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, that's a very good question. Where we should go down. Janusoni. Okay, I'm here. So in Pali, it is called Tathagata Padang. So, but the other way around is also okay. Tathagata Pada, which means where the Buddha himself step on all these jhanic experiences, then it comes as where the Buddha step on first and we followed him. So in Pali it's called Tathagata Padang when it comes to Pali. So
the Sinhalese word, I think I'm confusing with you. The Sinhalese word Pada is like feet, like so. Yeah. Pada, I thought maybe it's a Pada or Pada, maybe Pada. It doesn't really matter. It's footprint, right? So
yeah, footprint.
How to pronounce? Yeah,
that's true. I'm looking at the Sinhala translation. Yeah, it's when we come to Sinhala translation, it says Meyada Tathagatayan Wahansege Jnana Padaya Kiyada.
Jnana Pada.
Jnana Pada. Yeah, Kiyada and so on. It goes. So it's
it,
It doesn't matter.
it
It's
could
okay.
be, it doesn't matter,
Yeah,
yes. But anyway,
it
I
doesn't
think
matter.
English translation is really good here.
Yeah,
Footprint of Tathagata means the way the Buddha move forward on the Noble Eightfold Path towards the destruction of craving. We find these moments of Dharma there in the Noble Eightfold Path, because Samma Samadhi is in the Noble Eightfold Path. Where Samma Samadhi is developed, you have the clear mind. So they are just like, Buddha has gone through all
yeah,
these things.
yeah.
So
So the more
maybe
relevant question
it's a very
is,
good thing.
yeah, is how this I and I, the object, I consciousness arises, and how you see Paticcasamuppada through this. I think it's important for us to contemplate on the principle of Paticcasamuppada. Like when you say Paticcasamuppada, just immediately that comes to our mind is 12 steps. But I
Yeah,
think this explains imaspa upada idang upajati. So meaning if these conditions are there, this arises. So I is there, the object is there, I conscious arises. I guess that's the principle of Paticcasamuppada. I think that's not all explicitly said there. I think that's the the four things, right? It must mean sati idam hoti, imasva upada idam upachati. It must mean asati
yeah,
idam nahoti, imasma niroda idam nirujati. I think this is a very important key principles of Paticcasamuppada. You need to kind of contemplate over and over again. But in this point, the object I consciousness is looks like the imasma upada idam upajati. So these conditions are there, this arises. So that is you see Paticcasamuppada through this. Does it
yeah.
make sense?
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. Yes, where the line we need to keep in Paticcasamuppada is that this imasming sati idang hoti, imas upada idang upajati, imasming asati idang hoti, imas nirodha idang nirujjati. So
Nirujati.
these are the four lines we keep in mind in order to analyze anything. As you said, when I meets the particular object, there you see I consciousness. So imasming sati means I meets the visual objects. Imasming sati idang hoti. Idang hoti means I consciousness is there.
Right.
Imasa upada means meeting I with the visual object. Imasming sati idang hoti, imas upada idang upajjati. Idang upajjati means I consciousness arises. Then imasming asati, when I is not there, and when I is not meeting with the visual object, imasming asati, idan hoti means I
I consciousness
consciousness is not
is
there.
not present.
So when I is not meeting, which means imasa nirodha, idang nirujati, I consciousness is also gone. That's the meaning. And when you take any two links of Paticcasamuppada, let's say Paticcasamuppada formula, you apply this theory of Paticcasamuppada. Paticcasamuppada, actually, this is called Paticcasamuppanna Dhammata. It's the theory of Paticcasamuppada. Mean Paticcasamuppanna Dhammata is added, is reflected just to understand Paticcasamuppada formula, and also frequent happenings of our mind and body, as we discussed. So when you apply this, as you said, imasming sati idang hoti and so forth, in understanding the arising of aggregates, that's the very important part. That's the vipassana meditation, and that makes samatha meditation too, because both samatha and vipassana aspect are required for someone to see these arising and passing moments of aggregates.
And this probably
I think,
summarizes Yamkichi Samudaya Dhamma, Sabbanta Nirodha Dhamma. It's the same thing, right? In other words, even if you summarize further, that's idam imasma nirodha idam nirujati. Like they're rising and passing away, like in other
Yeah.
words, right?
Indeed, yes. That's another statement we can keep in mind for taking Patisampada into our mind very quickly. Yankinchi Samude Dhamman Sabbanta Nirodha. If you cannot remember that 4 lines, Imasming Sati Idang Hoti, with the meaning,
Right.
just hang on to this one line. Yankinchi Samude Dhammang Sabbanta Nirodhamang. Yankinchi Samude Dhammang. If there is any dharma that has the nature of arising, and that the phenomena is going to go when the causes and condition of that phenomena is gone.
God.
So another thing is the statement made by Venerable Asaji to Upatissa, Yedamma Hetu Prabhava, and that stanza. It is also a 4-line stanza. They may be not that difficult if you really pay attention to them. They are giving you glimpse of what you need to do in the Dhamma if you really keep them in mind.
It's
So
Anichavata Sankara Upadova,
yeah,
same thing, right? It's very similar ideas.
very similar idea. So they are talking about the anicca on 5 aggregate, anicca on sankara, anicca on sankata, anicca on every aspect of 5 aggregates are being talked, discussed there, so that they are giving us some actually encouragement to hang on to the Dhamma. So the recommendation is always there for us to keep them in mind in order for us to take unwholesomeness away from our mind. So as a suggestion, we can make this that we need to memorize these very short lines and keep them in mind for our own practice, because we are kind of preachers always.
Yeah.
And we may be missing out the point sometime if we do not apply them. So when we talk, when
It's useful to keep that in mind and recite it. Like I find it useful sometimes, and I don't know for others, but these few lines
you are right.
they are
It's
very
relevant to everyone, and this is why Sajjayana is really important for all of us, because it provides you very clear mind. Mind is inclined into the words, and first of all, you do not go into details of the word, but
Yeah.
when you do it over and over,
then you start seeing it as real.
skill
Initially,
is
it's just a bunch of words. What does
yeah.
it mean? But eventually, it kind of comes through as real. That's interesting. What you say, yes.
Yeah, actually, suppose some people, sing a part of song when they drive, when they go to washroom, when they have a shower, when they play anything, when they cook,
Yeah.
they sing part of song. That is because they have practiced it before. They are in their mind, so that they can enjoy the part of the song and also the meaning of it while doing something else, just because they had that practice before. Likewise, Dhamma is digested in such a way. We need to memorize these stanza. We need to sometime in very fast facing situations, like suppose such as you are hurried to the hospital to see a friend of yours. Maybe you are in a busy situation. You may not be able to sit and embrace all the Dhamma gradually, one after the other, but one of these 2 or 3 singing part, Sajjayana part, might help you remember the Dhamma which is necessary for you at that time.
Something they call it one-liners,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right. And we do not think sometimes how important these line. One day I experienced that one of my friends who met me after a long time asked me one day how I should practice Dharma. And I said, I cannot remember which line I said from Anicca, Sabbe Sankara Anicca, and so on. But I remember that I said one line of these 3 stanzas and keep that in mind. And that was really enlightening moment for him, because it was in his mind for a long time with the with all the pictures, myself and that environment. And he later read through all the lines he found in the internet, anicca sankara, or maybe anicca
Upadavaya Dhammino.
one of the lines I said, I didn't complete the whole 3 stanzas. So he was able to read all the suttas and then articles written by scholars, and he was listening some Dhamma sermons with regard to Anicca Sankara and so on. Some type of miracles happen like that with one little things.
I think the Yonita Manasikara like triggered in him quickly.
Yeah.
That's where he kind of set forward, right?
Yeah, he was struck by some unfortunate incident to happen to one of his friends, so that his mind actually having some sangvega very much. That's why he was searching through lines and find out many good information to get good knowledge about Anicca Sankara. So I think, as you said, yang kinchi samudaya dhammang sabbantan nirodha dhammang, then the imbasming sati idang hoti, these are not that difficult to keep in our mind, keep them in our mind. So trying with that, we would be able to go to subtle level of dhamma to keep them in mind, and they are called weapons of wisdom actually, to defeat all the unwholesome states arise in our mind. So you have something in your pocket and use that appropriately.
Thank you, Bhante.
So I should added some other important information from Mahahattipadopama Sutta, that is netang mama nemeso amasmi nemeso attadi. Remember these three phrases: netang mama, netang mama, nemeso amasmi nemeso attadi. With anything you experience, apply these three. But first, you don't understand the meaning, but it's okay. Just go with that over and over, and at some point, when you really gradually remember them, just go into details of it. Netang mama, nemeso hamasmi, neto nemeso attati. Netang mama, that means this is not mine. Netang mama, nemeso hamasmi, this I am not. And nameso attati, this is not myself. This means whatever you experience, whatever you see, whatever you hear, whatever you taste, whatever you smell, whatever you think, this means all these sensory experience, all these rupa, vedana, sanya, sankara, vijnana. With the word this, everything is meant there. And neta, this is not mine, which is wonderful. This is aggregates, and the attachment to aggregates are huge mountain-like things. How could a little one like you and like me break through these wall-like, huge mountain-like file of craving? So this is how we do that. Netang mama, nemeso amasmi, nemeso attati. In addition to anicca dukkha anatta, right? Anicca dukkha anatta might be difficult for some people to take and reflect on anything they experience, but this may be easier for some. Netang mama, nemeso amasmi, nemeso attati. This is not mine, this I am not. You don't find yourself in anything you experience is called this is not I am, and this is not myself. This has a particular way of flow, arising and flow and ending. So how could I on this? How could I claim my authority on this? That's what means this is not myself.
This is I think the contemplation of anatma, right? The last one you just talking about.
That's the peak of it. Yes, contemplation of anatta. This is not mine. This I am not, and this is not myself. So it's very clear that the Buddha expressed the whole scope of anatta lakkana by these three terms. So how do we come to these three lines in a practical and experience level? Because you see the impermanence of everything. You see everything is made by in such a way, and the quality of everything is nothing but the four elements, including space elements. And if you added the last one of the elements, consciousness, so you see the nature of everything, physical and mental phenomena. So there you see the anicca. When you see the anicca, you see the suffering. Dukkha means you see the dukkha as a characteristic feature of everything. Dukkha is a nature of everything. It doesn't mean you cry there. It doesn't mean you will lament there. It means that that nature is always there on anything and everything that has the nature of rising. So then, netang mama, how could you take I in those changing, fleeting phenomena? Because everything is going away from you. Everything is going. You means also something impermanent. So keeping these three, netang mama, nemesu hamasmi, nemesu attati, either in Pali or in English or in Sinhala. Mama neme, mage neme, mage atme neme. In Sinhala, in Pali, netang mama, nemesu hamasmi, nemesu attati in Pali, and then this is not mine, this I am not, and this is not myself, English. Either way, you can remember and reflect for anything you experience, anything you taste, anything you smell, anything you see, sense, and so forth. And that makes you completed training on Paticcasamuppada. So I think these suttas provide us all these of avenues for us to practice. In establishing dharma in our mind means all these things we discuss. If you read the Chulahatipadopama Sutta, which is an easier one for many people than the Mahatipadopama Sutta, you see how one gradually, step by step, progress from Sila level to in the Sila level. You have various sections. You complete one section of it and go to the next, and based on that you go to the next, and so on. Somehow you manage to complete a significant part of the sila. There you have clear mind now, and then you work on samadhi section, and completing both sila and samadhi together is the completing of panya section, so that you can see a very clear path for nirvana there in Chulahatipadopama Sutta compared to Mahatipadopama Sutta. Mahatipadopama Sutta is so deep, and Venerable Sariputta, though he said that the Four Noble Truths are such wonderful teaching, central teaching, he took only the first noble truth, regarding the five aggregates. He explained the Dhamma around that. But anyway, we find that Paticcasamuppada, remember that statement. Somehow, at some point of your discussion and talking, somebody might ask where this statement come from. Yo dhammam passati, so Paticcasamuppada Dhamma. It is this discourse. Remember, it is elsewhere as well, but Mahatipadopama Sutta has that statement. Yo dhammam passati, so Paticcasamuppadang passati, so yo Paticcasamuppadang passati, so dhammam passati. It's a very wonderful statement. So any questions? I can see that Dr. Pial used the chatting box to say you something, and that is about the netang mama namesu hamasmi namesu attati. He has typed there all the ways in Sinhala, in Pali, and also in English. And I am so sorry that I didn't email you those two wonderful articles he posted before. One is about his research with three individuals, and the other one is something about another one. I keep them in mind, and when I get the chance, I will definitely do it for you. Anyway, you all have that ability to find out wonderful dhammas from various monks and scholars and suttas. So get into those without wasting time. And most importantly, practice Dhamma to be able to experience it. Many of you are retired individuals from profession you work for so long, and there are a lot of time for you to reflect on despite the physical problems and so forth. So make yourself that you are in the right Dhamma. Establishing Dhamma in your mind is key for you to either to attain enlightenment in this very life or to complete your training in next life. Don't think going further in the samsara. Make a great determinations to shorten it with the power of the Dharma. Since you do not have any other questions, I might end today's session. Tomorrow I have a day-long program and other activities, and I know that you are also busy with various things. But anyway, anything you do, you can apply the Dhamma. There you be very, very wholesome. So having said that, let me finish today's session by wishing you good health and peace of mind. I thank all the venerables, including Nayakathero, for providing me the facilities to do this Sutta discussion. And I also bless you for continuing your Dhamma and experience it well. And may you all be in Nirvana very soon. With this wholesome thought in mind, I remain here wishing to be in the Sutta discussion again next week. Sadhu.